welcome to the Spiritual Hour with myself, Grey Wolf Psychic Medium, and today we're talking about grief and the afterlife. Now, for many of you, you will have gone through grief at some point in your life. You will have lost somebody close to you. We don't always know how to deal with this grief. We don't always know how to process it. Most of us deal with it very, very differently as well. So there's no right or wrong way necessarily to deal with this difficult process. Today I want to talk and share my story too about my grief journey and how I was guided by Spirit how to get through mine. Now, it doesn't mean that it was easy. It doesn't mean that I didn't care. It just means that Spirit gave me certain things that they wanted me to do to try and overcome my grief. So it was only 2.5 years ago that I lost my mum. I was fully aware at the time that my mum was very close to passing. Before we even got back in touch, I was aware that she didn't have that long left. However, I wasn't necessarily sure on how it was going to come about. I just knew that it was going to come about. I myself felt very, very anxious before it even happened, knowing that it was going to happen. I knew for 1.5 years that it was going to happen before it did, being a psychic medium. So there was a lot of anxiety, and I often thought to myself, when she was calling me, when I was talking to her, when I was seeing her, is this going to be the last time that I see her? Is it going to be the last time that I get to hear her voice? And when she eventually did pass away, there was a complete mix-up in my family, a huge mix-up in my family. My dad didn't tell me for a week or so that she was in hospital. Not sure why, he just didn't get in touch. And my parents live about 100 miles away from me, or at least they did. And so he didn't tell me for about a week. And then all of a sudden, my dad rings me and he tells me that my mum was in hospital. He told me why she was in hospital. And he told me that she was struggling. He told me at the time when him and the hospital had spoken, and they was considering turning the machine off because of my mum's struggles. So there wasn't really that long, and obviously there's a conversation between doctor and my mum. Doctor and my dad. So at this particular point, when my dad's got in touch with me, there's literally hours to go at this particular point. So I had to make a choice of, do I go? Am I going to make the journey? Am I going to make it in time? I'm going to be driving very, very emotionally and recklessly. What do I do? What do I do? So for me, I decided to stay. I decided to stay at home, being a medium, hoping and thinking that my mum would understand the reasons that I didn't drive over there, knowing that she can communicate with me, I can communicate with her, and understanding my reasons. I was worried that maybe because I'd be so emotional, I would probably have got into some sort of accident, the way that I probably would have been driving to have got there. So I made the choice. Then I think it was about 4 o'clock that day. So my mum, she was still alive at this point, but she'd gone into what I'd call like a deep state. And I was sitting in this room, and my mum had come through to me, and she told me that she was going to go around 8 o'clock, give or take. So she said about 8 o'clock. And later on, I got the phone call around 10 to 9, knowing that the hospital had rang me to say, I'm sorry, but she's just gone. Now, when she came through to me at 4 o'clock, some people may wonder, how does that happen? Well, because she's already got one foot over the other side. She was already in like a deep state, so she wasn't waking, she wasn't able to talk, she was in this deep, deep state. So she'd managed to somehow communicate with me and let me know what was going to happen and how it was going to happen. And she told me not to worry. When she finally did crossover when she finally passed. It was such a difficult process. I didn't realise it was going to be so difficult because we'd had such a on-off relationship, as I'd spoken in the previous episodes about my relationship with my parents, particularly in the younger years. But we'd got talking again. So it was a real difficult to process all these emotions, the hurt, the love, the pain, the goodbye. There were so many emotions. And I remember I was told, whatever I did, to not just down tools, because at this point I'm like, I've had enough. I'm done. I've had enough. I remember saying to Spirit, I was really annoyed, really fed up. I'd had enough. And they told me, whatever you do, don't down your tools. Whatever you do, don't down your tools. You need to make sure that you have something to focus on. You need to make sure that when you do your readings each day, it helps distract your mind from what you're going through yourself. Because if you don't have something to distract your mind, you're going to sink deeper and deeper and deeper. So the very next day, I had a reading. This is the day after she passed. I had a reading booked in for about 1 o'clock. So it was a lady in Australia that I was reading for. And I remember bringing the lady through from Spirit, who had exactly the same name as my mum. And I remember having that moment of just like, the choking feeling as I started to say my mum's name. Obviously, the client was aware that my mum had just passed, but I insisted it was okay. I was going to carry on doing it. And I did. I carried on doing the reading, and I was fine. And I got through it. And it gave me something to try and focus on, because my head was just stuck in this cycle going round and round and round. And it was really, really difficult trying to process all these emotions. But not long after my mum had passed, so very, very shortly, when we're talking within a day, my mum had come through to me already, and she showed me. She was standing with my brother in Spirit. She was standing with her mum, and she was standing with her dad. And she showed me standing on these stairs, and I could see this door right next to it, and I could see all these beautiful colours around this door. So it was almost like the door to heaven. It's the only way I can describe it, if there's such a thing. It's the only way I can describe it. I could see this door, all these beautiful colours of the rainbow, and I could see her walking up the stairs. And she wanted to say to me, "Don't worry about me. I'm happy now." Those words stuck with me. They really, really stuck with me. The reason they stuck with me so much is because on the earth plane, my mum had so many physical issues throughout life. Polio, epilepsy, diabetes, COPD. There was so many issues that she'd had. But obviously polio was something that she'd had from a child. So she'd always had issues in some way, shape or form. But when she came through, she made it abundantly clear to me, I'm happy. Don't worry about me. Where I am, I'm absolutely fine. And there was a side of me that kind of quickly recognised and said to myself, you know what? When we lose people, as much as it's sad for us, there's often a selfish side of us too, where we wish that they could stay a little bit more longer with us and be with us a bit longer. But on the flip side of that, that means as well that we'd have to see them suffering more and for longer. And none of us want to see that, of course. And so I quickly had to let go of that and kind of go to myself, you know what? She's not suffering. She's not in pain. She's in a place now with the rest of the family. But most importantly, she's happy. Most importantly. Now, there were still days, that I struggled. So I had up days, I had down days. There were still days that I struggled. Depression was something that kicked in a little bit at the time, probably a little bit more than I recognised or was prepared to talk about at the time. There was a lot of inner feelings that I needed to deal with, and a lot of feelings that I needed to process, guilt being one of them. Guilt being one of the feelings that I needed to understand, I needed to let go of, because I felt guilty and about not being with my mum towards the end. And that was something that I really, really struggled with for a while. And over the days, doing more readings for more people and bringing more spirit through, more information through, I also started to realise that I wasn't one of the only ones, of course. There was many other family members that also tried to make it, didn't make it, or couldn't make it for whatever reasons. They wasn't able to be with their loved ones at the end, but their loved ones was forgiving them too. So by helping other people doing readings, by doing that, not only are you helping others, but you're also helping yourself. There's knowledge that you gain for yourself along the way as a psychic and a medium by these messages from spirit that they're giving to other people that you're passing on. So it was something that I eventually started to let go of a little bit. Then it was only November last year that my dad passed away himself too. And I think it was the summertime when he rang me to tell me that he had cancer. And he was in this kind of mindset of, there's nothing wrong with me. I think they've got it wrong. He went for a neck scan because he had a trapped nerve. And it turned out that when they did the neck scan, they found this shadow on his lung. And turned out he had lung cancer. And for a couple of months, I think that there was that sense of him kidding himself. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. I don't know why they keep saying it. They've probably got it wrong. And then, come about September time, I remember going to see him for his birthday. And when I seen him, I just thought, oh my goodness me, like, you look really ill. You really looked like he, was really feeling it by the way I could see him. He looked like he was really struggling, walking, standing. He was just really, really struggling. And by that time, I think things had really started to kick in with regards to the cancer and things like that. So it was a really difficult time. And again, being so far away from him, it wasn't easy to be able to help him, to get over there, to help him, whether it's because he couldn't eat or get his medication. It was really, really difficult. Anyway, just a day before he passed, the hospital called me and they said, look, your dad really doesn't look very well, the hospice. They said he really doesn't look very well. I really think that, you might want to come and see him tonight. And bearing in mind this is like 7, 8 o'clock at night. And he was in Lincoln. Obviously, I'm in Leicester. So there's quite a distance. And then I called his friend and I said to his friend, have you spoken to him today? And he said, yeah, he seemed all right to me. And I'm like, are you sure? Because they're telling me something different. So me and his friend have this conversation. He went, nah, he seems all right. I'm going to see him tomorrow. Okay. So I had to make a choice. Do I go and see him on this Friday when the hospital have called me? Or do I wait and go and see him on the Saturday? And I had to just kind of sit there and allow spirit to pass me whatever needed to be passed on. Do I see him now? Do I wait till tomorrow? I'd rather be there with him at the end. I didn't want to make the same mistake as what happened with my mum. I didn't want to make that mistake. So I could have travelled at night time to go and see him, but potentially say goodbye, but him still be alive when I leave. So anyway, I made the choice that I was going to go and see him the next day on the Saturday. And I thought, right, I'm just going to get up, get myself dressed, and then go and travel over to Lincoln and go and see him. So as I got myself ready, I think I left Leicester probably about 1 o'clock, something like that. And just as I got onto the A46, so the main road to go to Lincoln, my phone rang, and it was the hospice calling me saying, you really need to get here. Your dad's took a turn. And I was like, So that all these emotions inside of me are building up. So obviously I'm trying to keep calm inside. I'm really, really struggling, but I'm trying to keep calm inside. And Spirit is saying to me, Carl, just take a minute, take a breath. You're going to get there on time. So I drove for about 20, 30 minutes. And Spirit said to me, Carl, just pull over for a minute. Just pull over, take a breath. Just take a few minutes to take a breath. So I did. I pulled over in the lay-by, just took a moment for a smoke, and then got back in the car, because what I was being told by Spirit is you can't have a smoke just before you get out to get into the hospital because of the smell and all the rest of it. So if you're going to do it now. Okay. So I did. I followed what they said, took a few minutes just to take in a few deep breaths, just calm myself down, get back on the road. And I carried on. I got to Lincoln, and I think I got there about 10 to 3 in the afternoon. And I got there, and they said, look, I'm glad that you've got here now. We're going to take the oxygen off. Now you're here, we're going to do that. And within 25 minutes of them doing that, my dad slowly started to fade, and he passed while I was there, which was really, really difficult for me. Now, for some of you listening to this podcast right now, what I'm about to say next might really, really connect and resonate with you. But the one thing that I struggled with this is getting the image out of my head of him passing. I really, really struggled. The image was just locked. It was just locked in my head, and I was like, oh, I really tried really hard just to get that picture out of my head. I wanted to see him, but I didn't want to be stuck with that image. And talking to other people, they told me they had the same thing too, that they also had the image stuck in their head of their loved one after watching their loved one also pass away. It was pretty hard. For me, I find myself then struggling to operate. I didn't know how to feel. It was such a different relationship with my dad to my mum. We took time over the years to try and repair it and be, as two adults, very, very different to what I had when I was growing up. So we took the time to try and repair it, but there were so many mixed emotions in there, and I just felt stunned, literally stunned. And I wasn't sleeping. Sometimes I won't get in bed till 8 in the morning, 10 in the morning, midday. I was really, really struggling to switch off. I was trying, but just nothing was happening. It was really, really difficult. And something that my dad had said to me before he passed, which again might connect to some of you listeners out there. He told me that he wanted, I can't remember the name of what it's called now. He wanted to be cremated, but no service. No service whatsoever, he said. No flowers, no service, no priest, no nothing. Like, what? Me and my sister found that really, really difficult, really difficult. Thankfully, I was there at the end. And although his eyes wasn't opening, I know he knows I was there. But it was like really difficult to process of this funeral, cremation going on, but you don't know what time it is. You can't stand there and say your last words. It was difficult. I'm going to be honest, it was really difficult. Something that I really, really struggled with. I know my sister struggled with that one too. Just having a service, and all we knew the day it was going to happen, but we had no idea of the time. So me and my sister, we both chose a time of our own where we felt like it was going to be around that time to light a candle and just think of him and just say our goodbyes. That was the only way that we could do it. It was hard. It was hard. And this is why I wanted to speak about this today, because grief affects us all in different ways. Whether it be the way that we do get to say goodbye, we don't get to say goodbye, a sudden passing, or even something that was an illness that went on for some time and then we kind of see them struggle towards the end of life. It's different for us all, and even for myself. As a medium, I wanted to share my story and my experiences with you because it might be something that you've gone through. And again, after my dad passed, my dad said to me, he came through in spirit. And again, I felt like I needed to take some time off. And he told me, don't you dare. His exact words was, the show must go on. So for me, I tried to take strength and courage from what he'd said and tried my hardest to continue doing what I'm doing the readings, doing my classes, doing all the other things that I was doing. I tried to channel this grief and energy that I was going through in a positive way. Now, if that was me 10, 15 years ago, I probably would have dealt with it very, very differently. Probably not very good, if I'm completely honest. But thankfully, as a medium, I was able to pick up those words, the show must go on. And the reason that I repeat that right now is because your loved ones would want the same for you. I know that when I speak to a lot of my clients doing readings, sometimes they go through this grief stage where things can be really, really difficult. Sometimes life can stand still. Sometimes we feel guilty, don't we? We feel guilty for doing things, going places, for laughing, for enjoying ourselves. But they're all the things that our loved ones on the other side want us to do. They want us to smile, they want us to laugh, and they want us to continue with their life. With our life. It doesn't mean that we don't love them and don't miss them. It doesn't mean anything like that. It just means that we still have to continue. We've still got people around us that need us, or we need them. And we don't want those other people to feel like they feel less either. And that's the other side of it too, is that through the grief, we can sometimes forget everybody else that's still here, and we can focus a lot on what's going on and what's just gone on in terms of the grief. So if you are someone that's going through something like this now, because the grief can last not just weeks and months, but sometimes it can last years with people, as I'm aware from speaking to many, many people. Do something that your loved one on the other side would want you to do. Whether it's take that holiday, whether it's move house, whether it's to get out every day and go for a walk, get that new job, whatever it is that they want you to do, or you think they might want you to do it. They would not want us to see us to be sad and to put our life completely on hold. Now, I understand there's always going to be a process. It's going to be hard. There's going to be tears. There's going to be emotions. I understand that. But I also understand that they don't want us to completely come to a standstill. I understand the emotions sometimes when we miss them so much we just want to be with them again. I understand that. I really understand that, without me saying it in a different way. I really understand that, particularly when my mum went across to the side. I really get it. But they don't want that. They really don't want that. Nothing is promised on this earth plane. Our time is not promised. And what we have to do is make sure that we make the most of every single moment and day that we have, with the people around us too, making more memories in the time that we've got left. Another part of the grieving process, which I know will connect to some people here. So, people that have got things like Alzheimer's or dementia in particular, and similar type things too, I've seen people, including my family members, them go through the grief process before the person's crossed over to the side, because there's a part of them that they feel like they've lost already. Now, I'm not talking just about Alzheimer's and dementias, but I'm using this as an example because it's what my family went through, my partner and her family. And going through that, it was so difficult to see my partner and her family go through this. It was a difficult process because they didn't recognise them. It was such a hard process. And I remember them saying, like, it's like you've lost them, but you've not. Physically, they're still there, but spiritually, it's like that they're on the other side. And often they would talk about things that you may not understand. They may see their loved ones around them, their brothers, their sisters, their mothers, their fathers in spirit, and say to them that they're all around them and talking to them. And that may well be the case. And so there's the other side of grief before it actually happens. That's something as well that can happen to us, and it's almost like we've gone through this transitional stage before they've left the earth plane. And then when they do leave the earth plane, yes, there's still tears and emotions, of course there's still that, but it's like a part of them had already gone, which is the only way I could probably say that to you. Again, with things like cancer, and it's different for each person, of course. But watching them struggle each day from being this particular character, like my father, he was always quite an outspoken, very opinionated, loved to crack a joke, always did awful dad jokes, and all these things. To go to being just the opposite, to not smiling, to saying to me, this is not living, this is existing. That's what this is, it's existing, it's not living. And he kept saying to me over and over again, every phone call that we had. So there's different aspects of where we grieve before they leave the earth plane. And that's a process that some people wouldn't understand, but it's like you've lost part of them before they've already gone. What's important to understand, though, is that the moment that they cross over that other side, there's nothing wrong. There's no more pain. There's no more suffering. There's literally healing, love, and light on the other side. I know that when my dad crossed over, I was in the room, and I know that his dad, his mum, and my mum, and my brother was all there, but I felt my mum first. They was all in the room, and I kept saying to my dad, Mum's here, she's come to collect you, Dad, Mum's here. And although his eyes was closed, I know that he was there. I know that he was able to hear that. And I know that for some of you that are watching this that may not be psychics or mediums, our loved ones do come to collect them, to help them cross over to the other side. That's one thing I really want to push over to you, that they really do come, they really do take them and help them cross over to the side to be with the rest of the family. It's like being reunited with the rest of the family. At this particular point, they will go over to the other side and they'll go through something which we call a life review. Now, everyone's perception of this, how it may happen in the mind, may be different. But they'll go up there and they'll be greeted by the family, but also by what we'd call guides, okay, spirit guides. At this particular point, it's almost like they've put a big TV screen up there, but this would happen through the mind, of course. And they'll get them to look back on all of their life moments, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, all the moments in their life where the effects that they had on people, the good and the negative, the things that they did well and the things that they didn't do well, but also the domino effects of that. So, for all the things that they did well, and seeing obviously people's reactions around them, but also the things that they could have done better or differently, again, they get to see the bird's eye view of those other people and the struggles around that, for them to understand that their actions or lack of actions and the domino effect it had on those people around them. So they call this the life review. In order to grow as a soul and to evolve as a soul, we have to learn vital life lessons. Some of them we don't understand when we're on the earth plane. Some people are more in tune and more spiritual than others. Some of it, though, they'll only realise when they're on the other side. And when they start to see the mistakes that they made and the way that they probably could have done things differently. In order for them to grow as that soul and that spirit, if they're to come back another time through reincarnation, then they need to learn from those lessons in some way. And so this is essential for the life review, to see what we did great and to see what we didn't do great. And to learn and to grow and to evolve. Then whilst they're up there, they will take some time to heal themselves from what they've just come through on the earth plane. So although the body's not there, of course, but the spirit needs time to heal, for their vibration to change, coming from the physical to the spiritual. And yes, we're all spiritual, of course. We're all spirits having a human experience, but for them to make that change going over to the side. Now, there's a lot of people out there that may say, I've seen actually on social media many times, that other mediums seem to think that it takes a spirit 6 months to come through. It's just not true. It's just not true. And I'm saying this from experience. So from my experience and working with spirits, I've had spirits come through within a day, within 2 days. It does not take 6 months for them to come through. Now, it doesn't mean that everyone can come through after a day. It doesn't mean that. Everything has to line up. Synchronicity, of course. So, whether you find a medium, connect to a medium at the right place and the right time, all those synchronicities have to line up for that spirit to come through, for the medium to be there, and for you to receive the message. So for some people, they'll say to me, Carl, I've been waiting 10, 15 years for my mum to come through. And I've read for other people on Facebook Lives and TikTok Lives where they've literally lost the person the day before. You don't know that when you're doing the reading. You start channeling and you say, I've got somebody coming through and she looks like this and she looks like that. And they're going, oh my goodness me, that's my mum. Then they'll say to me, I only lost her yesterday. But there is no set time. There is no set time for a spirit to come through. So it could take a month, it could take 6 months, it could take 6 years, but there is no set time. If you look at, they'll come through quite soon. However, when I have people message me, which recently somebody did actually, and they said to me, I just lost a family member in spirit. I think it was a mum, They said they'd lost somebody in spirit just recently. Could they get a reading? I said, look, it's possible to connect, but it's really, really raw. Take time just to process those emotions first. Take some time just to allow yourself just to go through those emotions. Because I've had people contact me the day after someone's passed, so they've not even had a funeral or etc. And I say, look, just take some time. Allow them to, go to the funeral, go through the funeral. There's going to be a lot more emotions that's coming between now and then. I can't tell them when they should or shouldn't book. I can only advise, and I can only say I would recommend waiting and just giving it a little bit of time just to process the emotions. So it's not that they can't come through, but I'm thinking of the client, how raw it could be for those two. Sometimes, again, things just line up and somebody's on my Facebook Live or my TikTok Live or my YouTube Live, whichever it is, and I'm doing readings and it just comes through. But if it's a private reading and they're messaging me, and I'll say to them, just take some time, allow yourself just to process those emotions. It's a difficult thing that you're going through right now, and just be very, very gentle with yourself. Now, the other thing for you to understand, there's a lot of people that talk to their pictures, their photos of their loved ones on the other side. And yes, Spirit are aware of this too, by the way. The amount of times that I've done readings for people, and I've been able to pass on certain moments to my clients, what Spirit show me. So whether it's they lighting the candle or talking to the photo, or spreading the ashes, whichever it may be, Spirit are with you. They do get to see these things. And it's really important to understand that I know that sometimes you may not feel or see or hear them, but just because you don't do any of those things or may not feel them, it doesn't mean to say that they're not there, because they are, okay? They are there. And if it's not one spirit, there'll be another one. That's one thing I can pretty much say. Now, I'm not saying that there's with you 24 hours of every single day. But what I do know is sometimes spirit are there, but they just stand back. So I'm aware of their presence is around me, but they're not talking to me. They're just standing back. And that's cool too. So I allow that to happen, whether it's be a family member for me or for a spirit for somebody else. Sometimes I'm just here, you carry on. No worries, and I just carry on. So sometimes it's just their presence that I see. And I don't necessarily talk to them. Sometimes they're more vocal and they come in with a more pushy energy. Now, for some of you too, you may be wondering as well, did they get to see the children being born or the grandchildren being born? Definitely. Did they get to go to the wedding? Okay, if there's been a wedding, most definitely. Would they be there for birthdays and Christmases and anniversaries? Definitely. I've even seen in a reading before when somebody has bought a cake for their, say, mum in spirit as an example. So the mum's in spirit, but they bought them a birthday cake. They lit the candles on the birthday cake, to kind of wish her happy birthday. And I was shown that in a reading. And again, I passed that on to the client. So yes, they can see those moments too. They are with you, whether it be your happiest moments or even your lowest moments. Sometimes people think, I wish my family was here, I wish they'd seen this, and I wish my dad would have seen that. But they don't. They do see all of those moments. So they do share your good times and your bad times. And one way that you can know if you feel their presence around you, because even if you think about them, even right now, and just visualize them in your mind just for a second, and as you start to visualize them and say their name out loud, you might start to feel like a cold presence around you, where you get that cold chicken skin and like the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. You may start to feel a feeling in your chest as you're still thinking about them right now, where it makes you feel a little bit emotional, because you feel the love that they're sending to you. Or you feel this feeling in your stomach as well, again, as you connect with them. So again, as we think of them, we can start to feel them, particularly if they step forward and give us a sign in some way. So they can show us signs in many ways, but that would be to feel. And as we always know, that when people do paranormal investigations, they're looking for those cold places, those cold temperatures. Okay, so it's the same when spirit walking. We feel the temperature change, and that's why we get the cold skin. So it'll help you to understand that you don't necessarily need the kit of a paranormal investigator. We can sense it and we can feel it on our body. Our skin just goes, oh, and we just feel it. So there's one way of just feeling their presence around you. And sometimes when you're talking to them, they will hear you. And although you may not necessarily hear them how you want to hear them sometimes, they will hear you. What's also important to understand too, when I first started, I thought I would hear them exactly how you hear me now. But I realised on my spiritual journey pretty quickly, that's not how it is for me. Now, there is mediums out there that do hear it similar to that, but I don't. I hear it more like words that just appear in my head. So I get words that just appear in my head. Sometimes it can sound like my own voice. Sometimes it can sound like silent words that appear in my head. Other people may hear it internal, so again inside the head, but they might hear it with an accent, things like that. And some mediums hear it external, so how you hear me. But most of the mediums I know, they all hear it internal, so like inside your head, like you're having a convo inside your head. So it's important to understand when you think of hearing spirit, it's not always the way that some people think. Because I remember going to the spiritual church for the first time thinking, I don't hear them. And I remember sitting in this circle one day, and they said to us, right, Carl, we're going to do a little test today to see if you can get the accent from the spirit. I'm thinking, I don't really normally get accents, but I'll give it a go anyway. So anyway, this was the time that I actually heard it external. You should have seen my face. So I'm sitting there, and I'm tuning in, and all of a sudden I hear, "You're right, my love." What the? Like, literally, I'm like, where did that come from? And it literally came through just like that. And I was like, whoa. I'd never heard it like that before. Normally I hear it just inside my head. But it's clear as day, that's how it came through. So yes, I'm capable of bringing it through like that. And so is spirit. But generally I hear it inside my head. But I'll never forget that. And it was also at that spiritual church too, was where I also got touched by spirit the first time. So I remember being in the meditation circle, and we're doing meditation. Everyone's got their eyes closed. Everyone's like gone on, including me. And in my head, I could see this little girl running around at the spiritual church. And all of a sudden, I got like that, literally proper push me face in. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, what do I do? And I remember just thinking, just keep your eyes closed. Just keep your eyes closed. Don't open your eyes. Just keep your eyes closed. And it was the first time that I'd ever felt a touch fuller from spirit. So not just a stroke, but an actual touch. So it was a bit like, whoa. I didn't feel like I was scared. It was more shocked because obviously, again, I was in a meditation. I was quite deep. And then all of a sudden I was being touched. So, yeah, obviously, again, the way that spirit can work, if they want you to hear them in a certain way, they'll get that through. If they want to touch you, again, they can do that. The same happened with my partner. I also asked her nan in spirit to give my partner a kiss on the cheek. And I kept asking and asking and asking. This was on a summer's day. And we're sitting in the garden at the time. And all of a sudden, my partner, she felt a nan kiss her cheek. She felt it. And she still goes on about it, even to this day. So you can have that physical touch. And yes, it takes spirit more energy to do this, because sometimes they don't have the energy, of course, sometimes. So it takes them more energy to do it, but it is possible for them to do. So I like to share these experiences because you guys that are watching this or listening to this at home, it may be something that you've experienced. I'd love to hear in the comment section if you guys have ever experienced anything like that. Maybe even feel your bed go down too, like someone sitting on the edge of your bed, just kind of keeping you company or watching over you. But getting back to what we was talking about, and talking about the grief and the afterlife, sometimes we know the answers to the questions when I might ask somebody and say, what would your nan want you to do? So say your nan's passed over. What would your nan want you to do? How would she want you to deal with it? And obviously most people would have a very quick answer, and they'd go, well, they'd want to see me laugh, they'd want to see me smile, they'd want me to have that holiday. They wouldn't want to see me like this. They really wouldn't want to see that. And I understand love is the strongest emotion by far. So I know it hurts like hell. I understand that. But sometimes try and do it in their honour. If you can't do it for yourself sometimes, and sometimes pull yourself through just that little moment, which I understand, I only went through it in November, try and do it for them. So if you've not gone out for a little while, you've not gone and done something for a little while that you'd normally do, you may have shut down, stayed in for days or weeks. Maybe in their honour say, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to do this thing. So whatever that thing might be, tomorrow I'm going to do that in their honour. I'm going to do that with them, knowing that they're helping me to do this, but I'm going to do it in their honour. And day by day, keep trying to do the same thing. And before you know it, you'll start to come through this difficult period, because I understand it's a really difficult thing to go through, particularly when there's been such a good, strong relationship. Sometimes you may have been best friends, like mother and daughter, son and father, even partners. So I understand the relationships would be so tight and so strong. I get that completely. But I'll never forget the words that my dad said to me, that the show must go on. And he wanted me to carry on. He wanted me to keep doing my readings, keep connecting with people, keep doing what I'm doing, keep helping people. The sad thing for me is my dad knew what I did, because obviously I'd given him messages from my mum before, and I'd given him healing and things like that. However, he'd never watched me do a demonstration. I wanted him to come, but he got too ill. When I was down at Grimsby in September, he was meant to come and watch me then, but he'd only just come out of hospital and he couldn't. So he never got to see me do the job that I do. Nor did my mum, because again, she had her own disabilities and was poorly. So it's always something that I wish that they'd come to see me do what I do on the earth plane, to truly understand what I did. Obviously now, they're both working behind the scenes, trying to bring all this information to me, trying to help me out in all the ways that they couldn't do on the earth plane physically. All the things that they may have wanted to do but couldn't do, this is where they start to do things now. Behind the scenes, they may be pulling strings for me. There's things that I've got going on in my life, and I say to them, what the hell am I going to do? And they'll give me some advice, and they'll say, but just write it out. Things will start to change. Give it a few weeks and things will start to change. Just have faith in the process. So I kind of listen to them and I kind of go, okay, I kind of grit my teeth, wipe my way through it, and I just keep going and just keep going. So they do come through and they do offer me that advice, and I find myself often, telling them, that I miss them and I love them, and, I walk past the picture and, kind of talk to them. There'll be times as well where all of a sudden I'll just get this energy come in and I just feel them around me. And, they might just want to say just a few words to me. And again, I'm very lucky to be in the position that I am, that I'm able to communicate and connect with them. And even if that's just a few words, sometimes it's those few words that do keep me going. And so I understand that in that respect, I'm very lucky. I suppose that's one of the things that's got me through this journey as well, of coming through the grief journey, is that I count myself very, very lucky that although I've lost both my parents, I'm still able to connect and communicate with them, which I know that not everybody can do. So for that, I'm very, very grateful. I'm very grateful that I'm able to still feel them, to see them, to sense them. I'm very grateful for that. And I understand that, sometimes we can focus on a lot of the negatives that we've got going on in our lives, and it's really easy to do that. But I also know too that sometimes we have to focus on the positives, and some of the positives that we've got is those memories that you had with your mum or your dad or your nan or your granddad or even your partner, whoever it may be that you've lost. One thing's for sure is that those memories, you'll keep those memories forever. You'll keep them there and you'll keep them there. And every time we do something for them, it's like keeping their memory alive. We maybe go out to a place that they used to visit, or a place that you used to go with them, whether it be out for a meal or a walk in the park. It's like we do that and we keep bringing their memory and their spirit alive. It's very, very, very difficult process going through grief, but we all deal with it differently. I also, when I found out about my brother in spirit. So my brother in spirit, he died very, very young. And me going through my trauma journey, I started to find out where he was. So I found out which cemetery was at. And I decided to go and visit him as an adult because my mum and dad had not spoken about it much as a kid. And so I went up to the cemetery. And when I got there, I was told the plot number. When I got there was no gravestone and there was no stick in the ground for me to know where he was. Which, when I got there, I found it really upsetting. If I'm honest, I found it very upsetting at that particular time. And it was something that played on my mind for a long, long time. And I kept saying, when I've got the money, I'm going to get him like one of those sticks in the ground and pay for one of them. And then I went and did some inquiries to how much it was and found out it was very, very expensive. And they're done on 10 and 20 year cycles at the cemetery. Anyway, I was still determined to do it. But my brother came through in spirit and told me, don't do it. I understand that you love me. I understand that you miss me. I understand that you think about me all the time. But don't do it because I'm here and here all the time. And he made it very clear to me, as much as I thought about him, as much as I wanted that thing there for him, so I knew where he was, because he was buried. He made it very clear to me that he didn't want me to waste money on that when he kept saying to me, I'm here. Wherever you are, I'm with you. I know you think of me there, but I'm not. I'm here. And it took me a little while to understand that, even as a medium, because I find cemeteries very peaceful, personally. I know other mediums might have different experiences, but I find them very peaceful. Yes, I do see spirit there, I do, but not to a point where I find it uneasy or anything like that. I go and pay my respects. I go to the spot where I feel like my brother is, according to the plot. I spend a few moments there, and then I'll kind of go and do my thing. I find them, to me, just very, very peaceful. I don't find them uneasy at all. And some people might find that, like, as a medium, like there's thousands of people there. Do you see others? I do, but it's not like I see tons of them. I might see one or two. but I tend not to go there with the focus of wanting to or trying to connect with the other spirits. I go there with the purpose of taking the time to pay respects to my brother in some way. Um, and I understand he's here and he's there, but sometimes it's my way of saying to him that I've done this for you. I've come here for you to take some time to connect with you directly through your energy from where you was buried. So I suppose other people might have different experiences of going through to cemeteries, and other mediums might have different experiences. But me personally, I find them very, very peaceful. Very peaceful. So I hope that what you've been able to take from today's podcast is that although you might be going through something that's very difficult or gone through it, please know that your loved ones always watch over you. Please know that your loved ones, whether it's your birthday or your Christmas or any other anniversary or celebration, whether it be you or the other family members, they'll be there, they'll be watching you, and they'll be sharing those moments. And if there's difficult moments that you have too, they'll be there too to help you, to guide you, to pick you up. You know, sometimes we don't know what goes on behind the scenes up there. Sometimes there's things that happens, and it's not just one spirit. Sometimes there could be several family members helping things in the background, whether it's this new house that you wanted or this new job or this new partner, whatever it may be. Sometimes there's things going on behind the scenes that we don't always know, but they're working hard for us behind the scenes. So just know that your loved ones will be doing the same thing for you. And if there is something that you've been wanting or you've been asking for or guidance for, they're probably helping you to do that. So I hope all of you have enjoyed today. Thank you for all of you listening. I'm Grey Wolf Psychic Medium. This is the Spiritual Hour, and I'll see you all again next week. Until then, take care.